The quarterback debate begins. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is great to be here with all of you. It is Monday, the 7th of December here in 2020. We got a nice, cool background today. You'll see it as I pull in my co-host, Gavin Tony. We had to pull out the black and green, unfortunately, because it's just not good going on. But we've been talking about this for weeks. We've been talking about this for a while. There is nothing new to know about this football team, except we now have something major that this team finally decided to do. They finally pulled Carson Wentz from the football game. But does that solve your issues? Does it create more controversy? We don't know. Why create controversy drafting a quarterback in the second round? There's a lot to go over. Again, I said this last week. It is impossible to defend Carson Wentz's play right now. Absolutely 100% impossible. Does it mean that you get rid of him? Does it mean that you start Jalen Hurts and you build your franchise from there? I honestly don't know. There's the phone. It is ringing early on Monday, but that's all right. Maybe it's a sign of something. But yes, in the third quarter, Jalen Hurts officially was plugged in as Carson Wentz was officially benched. They asked Carson about it on the sideline, and he said that they told him maybe the next drive or the next play or two. There's some lack of clarification going on. The lack of assertiveness in this locker room is causing issues. So, Gavin, let me get it to you. Let me get some of your initial thoughts on this Monday morning.
Well, Zach, first of all, I'm doing great, and ladies and gentlemen, me and Zach had a little side bet on the Jets and Raiders game, and our PJ's trip. Zach is paying next time we go, so that's going to be fun. But that's besides the point. Zach, going to the Eagles game yesterday, it was supposed to happen. But notice when it happened. Notice how everybody started to play better. Notice how the play elevated from defense and from the wide receivers. Jalen Reagor with a punt return. And Zach, get this. And he also called a touchdown pass or called a 20-yard pass, 20-plus yard. Really, Zach? Oh, and by the way, too, the defense was getting stops, even though ultimately the defense got destroyed and the defense couldn't hold the Packers. But for the most part, they got a couple 3-and-outs when Jalen Hurts started. So, Zach, my unpopular opinion that I was telling you about, what I was saying before on the show, is it wrong to say, and this is going back to the old reports about the team not liking Carson Wentz. They don't like Carson Wentz. They like Nick Foles better. Is it wrong to say, and this is an unpopular opinion, I'm going to come out and say it, those reports might have been true. Maybe they really didn't like Wentz. Maybe there was a select few that enjoyed Wentz and Wentz's company, but the majority didn't like Wentz. And that was a report that we talked about earlier on the show, and we kind of side-bashed and talked about the Super Bowl cause risk. But I'm a firm believer that it's the truth. And we saw it yesterday on Sunday that as soon as Carson Wentz went out, the defense started getting drops, receivers started getting open. It looked like everybody wanted to play football. Is Doug Peterson's job saved? Hell no. Is Howie Roseman look like a genius? Hell no. Okay, Justin Jefferson's Rookie of the Year. Clear cut, Rookie of the Year. But Zach, I that's my unpopular opinion.
It's something that's been talked about forever, and it's the hardest element of defending Carson Wentz. Again, I am pretty well known as a Carson Wentz defender. I'll be blunt about it. Doesn't mean I don't think Jalen Hurts didn't deserve to go in yesterday. I've got all the notes right here. And Gavin, the hardest thing about Carson Wentz to defend is this, and now it's going to grow. The Eagles lost to the Dallas Cowboys. They dropped, let's see what the record was. They dropped to 6-7 on the season. Amari Cooper catches the touchdown pass. That's Carson Wentz's last game of the year. And this is the year after the Super Bowl for those forgetting. Nick Foles then comes in on Sunday Night Football, goes to Los Angeles, and they win the game 30-23. They were actually up by another touchdown, but the late touchdown by the Rams made the score a little more pretty. And then, of course, the game-winning field goal against the Texans, they scored 30-plus points in that game. So maybe you're right, Gavin. I mean, maybe there's a possibility these reports are true. Maybe it's a possibility that people don't want to work as hard with Carson Wentz. Maybe there's some truth to some of these reports. Again, there's always truth to some rumors. I always believe that in the sports world, no matter what anyone says, I don't take anything at face value anymore. The Josina Anderson reports came out. That was Alshon Jeffrey. It's pretty blunt at this point that Jeffrey doesn't even want to be on the field. He also had a drop from Jalen Hurts yesterday, so it's not a big difference there. So before I even get to yesterday's game, let's talk about that year, Gavin, when Nick Foles came in and miraculously led this team to the playoffs. All right?
First, looking in.
Let's start with the Eagles against the Cowboys when they lost in overtime. Carson Wentz's last game of the year, 22 of 32, 228 yards, 3 touchdown passes. All right? That's a pretty damn good stat line for a quarterback. All right, and then here's the rest of it. Josh Adams, that's a name from the blast from the past, 7 carries. Wendell Smallwood 1, and Darren Sproles 1. Gavin, that's 9 times they ran the ball in that game. 9. And the score too. It's 6-0 Dallas going to the half. It's 9-6 at one point. At no point in this game are you not in more than one possession away. All right, so that's the game they lose. Carson Wentz is done for the year. Parent back injury, although I think he never was really recovered. We're going way back. Let's go to the Rams game on Sunday night. Nick Foles, 24 of 31, 270 yards, no touchdowns, a pick. That's fine. But how about this, Gavin? Wendell Smallwood, 10 carries. Darren Sproles, 3 carries. Josh Adams, 15 carries. 28 runs versus 9. But hold on, we're not done yet. Because we're talking about the quarterback change. I mean, I would take 22 of 32 for 230 yards and a few touchdowns versus 29 of, I'm sorry, this is 24 of 31. But hold on. Let's go to the Texans.
Real quick. We know they changed the play calling change when Nick Foles is in, but go on.
9 carries for Darren Sproles, 11 for Adams, 1 for Smallwood. That's 22 plus runs versus 9 with Carson Wentz in. Here's my problem. This is very explainable from back then. Because before we can talk about yesterday, I have to ensure that we're not using that stretch when Nick Foles miraculously came in and won the games again. They beat the Redskins. Sorry, the football team. That was their name back then. They beat them, but it was a blowout. Nate Seinfeld came in. The game after that, they shouldn't have won. We know they shouldn't have beat the Bears. They honestly could have beaten the Saints, but they completely stalled out because, again, play calling becomes an issue. So that debate is settled, right? Can we sit here and agree that the Eagles made the right decision deciding Carson Wentz over Nick Foles, and all the success can be pointed to the balance of play calling? Can we at least agree on that before we move forward to this season?
Well, Zach, I'm not going to disagree with you. Remember, they tried to play hero ball with Carson Wentz. We know they don't run the ball when Carson Wentz is under center. We know when Nick Foles is under center, they try to simplify the offense, or they try to get the ball out of his hands quickly. They actually don't want Nick Foles to have the ball in his hands, period. That's why they run the ball. But go on.
All right, so we got that settled. That's that season. Nick leaves. Carson stays. 4-year extension. Not a big fan of the extension itself, but, they did it before Dak and everybody else got paid, so whatever. Okay, so now we're at last season, the 2019 season. There was talk of benching Wentz after the Patriots game. Gavin, name one game from last season. Just name one. Any random game.
Are we talking about before the stretch to a sub winner or after?
Any game from last season when they went to the playoffs and lost to the Seahawks. Any game from that season.
Let's go to Buffalo. That was my favorite game. Let's go to Buffalo.
All right, so let's go to the Eagles versus the Bills. If I go Eagles versus Bills, again, they're coming off a 2-game losing streak. They're in Buffalo against a really tough defense, 31-13. Wow, G. Carson must have been great. Oh, wait, 17 of 24, 172 yards, 1 touchdown. Jordan Howard, 23 carries. Miles Sanders, 3 carries with a 70-plus yarder. Nelson Aguilar, 2. Boston Scott, 5. 26. You add 2, 28, 33. All right, Gavin, now name a loss from that season.
Let's go to Detroit. The first loss. Detroit.
All right, Detroit. Now, if I'm correct, I believe they did run the ball more than 25 times in that game. They had a few fumbles. They lost by 3. So they ran it. And by the way, on the other side, Kerryon Johnson, 20 carries, 13 and 11. So you're just shy of that 25 marker. Name one more loss from that season, Gavin.
Let's go to New England. Let's go a home game versus New England.
Eagles versus Patriots, which was a very close game the entire time at home. You have fans there, by the way. Okay. We'll go to the Eagles side. 20 of 40, 214 yards, a touchdown, 11 carries for Miles Sanders, 7 for Boston Scott. Only 18 carries in that game. Only 60-plus yards on the ground. And Gavin finally named one more win from last season.
Let's go to the big win that got us into the playoffs versus Cowboys, Week 16.
Eagles versus Cowboys, low-scoring game for the most part. Let me make sure I'm on last season. The Philadelphia Eagles won that game 17-9. Again, they got blown out the first time. Eagles, 20 carries for Miles Sanders, 6 for Carson, 3 for Boston Scott, and 1 for Greg Ward. There's a clear correlation from last season going into this year. When you run the ball, you win. What has changed in this season? Up to this point, you can't use the past to say Carson Wentz should not be a starter in this league. You can't use that. That's all out the window. We're only going to use what we have this year. And according to what we've seen, Carson should be benched. But Gavin, pick one game from this year, win or loss, or tie.
Let's go to Bengals because that game they should have won. And matter of fact, no, Zach, let's go to the first game. Let's go to the first game, actually. Go to the first one.
Eagles versus football team, week 1. They lose that game. Let me get the game recap up here. They lose that one. Why can't I find it? I'm going to pull it up. That was the big concern for the Eagles, 27-17, right? Carson Wentz, 24 of 42, 270 yards. Gavin, they had a 17-7 lead at the half. They ran the ball 15 times in that game. 9 carries for Boston Scott, 6 for Corey Clement. That's it. And now let's see what the 49ers game looked like, because I know they won that game. It was not a pretty one.
They were banged up to go. Keep going.
Eagles versus 49ers. They win 25-20. 13 carries for Scott, 7 for Wentz, 3 for Hurts, 2 for Clement, 2 for Scott, and 1 for Adrian Killins.
Matter of fact, Zach, I'll take it one better. Let's go to everyone's beloved Steelers. Zach, you ready? 11 carries for Miles Sanders, 4 for Wentz, and 1 for Boston Scott. But guess what? They were in the game for the most part. They were in it. Go on.
The bottom line is pretty clear. When you run the ball, you win games no matter who's quarterback. That's why we have some problems. Let's go to yesterday. Let's talk about this, because now this conversation is up. I've explained why I defend Carson Wentz. The O-line is very banged up right now. Okay? Jalen Hurts comes in. Gavin, tell me what you liked about Jalen Hurts yesterday. Tell me what you saw that you liked.
Just getting out the pocket, being able to extend plays, making him respect him as a runner, all right? That's the thing. That's the thing that makes Lamar Jackson and these guys dangerous, and Deshaun Watson. You have to respect him as a runner, and then that opens up, that frees up the pass. But go on.
From Jalen Hurts, again, all respect to Jalen Hurts. Great story. Seems like a really good guy. Wants to help
nice throws too, Zach. He has some nice throws too.
And again, when I go into this conversation, there's no disrespect towards him at all, because actually I think he should be starting against the Saints. So let me get that out of the way. Make sure everybody's on the same page. What I saw from Jalen Hurts on the first drive was all right. They had a big holding call that ended up ruining the drive. Shocker, penalty. It's happened before. The next drive, they scored the touchdown. Hurts completed, I think, 2 passes on that drive. The Jalen Reagor one and the Greg Ward touchdown. What else was he doing? He was moving around the pocket and running. He picked up 10 yards on back-to-back plays. Why? Because receivers can't get open. And by the way, for the record, the reason he had so much room to run is because they were playing prevent, because they were up by 2 scores. Again, it's not any disrespect to Jalen Hurts. I made that very clear. Go back a minute ago. But here is the deal. You go ahead and you look at this team. They played prevent on us. And then, yes, the Jalen Reagor pass was beautiful. More play calls like that, please, no matter who's quarterback. And second, the Greg Ward back foot was good as well. He had a few bad throws that I saw again. He's a rookie. But here's what I would like to see.
That interception, if I may say, he did get hit. So I'm not going to.
And like Carson hasn't this year. That's my point. With Jalen Hurts, people like him more than Carson, so maybe this will help expose the problems. Or Hurts comes in and becomes an MVP. I don't know what's going to happen. Whatever it takes for the Eagles to win, frankly, I don't care. I just want them to win games. However, I learned nothing new yesterday. I saw the O-line play like crap. Hurts got drilled twice. And just a few things, too. This thing they jab at Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts had 3 sacks. He lost 2 yards. Carson had 4 sacks and lost 22 yards. That is terrible. That is my biggest issue with Carson Wentz, is how he finds a way to lose so many yards on a sack when other quarterbacks will just go down, concede the play, and go to the next one. But here's what has to happen. Put Jalen Hurts in next week. Let the Saints game plan for him. Let them play real defense early in the game, and let's see what happens. And if Jalen Hurts does well, keep starting him. But if the O-line struggles continue to the point where even a mobile quarterback can't get over that, or wide receivers that can't get open, you got to revisit those problems, because the quarterback change, simply put, is not enough. And then finally, Gavin, the play calling. There's my evidence. There's my case in this quarterback debate. I do think Hurts should start next week, just because there's still variables unknown. But don't be surprised when it doesn't work out.
Zach, you're putting me in a tough spot here. Because I like Brother Wentz, right? I like Brother Wentz. But what I saw yesterday from Brother Wentz, I did not – I couldn't take it no more, Zach. I really couldn't. Zach, let me ask you this. With the way how the reflection of the game, let's go to the first drive, right? There was an idiotic play call where, what was it, Jalen Reagor bumps into, who is that, Boston Scott in the backfield, and ultimately the play.
That was just that was a blown up screen. Wentz chucked that thing into the ground. There was a hold. There should have been a defensive holding on Boston Scott. Carson dropped that perfectly. But that first drive, Gavin, they did that reverse where they dropped it off to Reagor on the end around. That's all the creativity you get. We want more of that. It works. The first drive, if they play like that the rest of the game, they've been fine.
But look how so this gets into our point. Look how Kansas City uses Tyreek Hill, right? Look how Pittsburgh uses Chase Claypool with the underrounds, with all these quick passes. All right.
The Eagles don't have any of that. There's nothing. It's stale.
Exactly. So where am I getting with that? Get the ball out Wentz's hands. And these are teams, the two teams I just named, they were great offensive line, and they're getting the ball out Big Ben's old hands, and they're getting the ball out Patrick Mahomes' quick hands. And then Zach, if Phillip Rivers can hit Michael Pittman Jr. on a little drag route, fire drag route that turns into sometimes a touchdown, it turns into 15 yards. Why can't we do that? Oh, because our receivers can't get open. But Zach,
anyone can get open on underneath route.
It's deeper than that. When I look at that team, right, Zach, I look at that team from the start. It didn't look like they have much heart to begin with.
They're a broken football team that's young, inexperienced, and poorly coached.
But wait a minute. Then you look at the quarterback switch, and everybody has a fire lit under them, and they're ready to go, and they're ready to get open, they're ready to play. Now the wide
That's not true at all, Gavin. Two completions. Two completions.
But hold on. Well, the wide receivers weren't completely open, right? Okay, Zach, we know they need to get better. They need to get better. But it just felt like everybody wanted to play as soon as Hurts stepped in. I feel like everybody felt the need to actually try to play and win. Zach, they were right back in the game after that. They were right back in the game. Then Aaron Jones with a nice long touchdown run. Defense didn't have the best day yesterday. All right, we know. But Zach, they were right back in the game after that. The defense was starting to get 3 and outs for a little bit, and there was no Darius Slay for a little while either. I don't think he ever came back Tuesday. But
no, he's getting an MRI today. There are some concerns with his knee. We'll figure out more and report as we find out. But no, there was a change in energy. I think there was something different. A wake-up call. Wentz looked ticked off answering questions yesterday. Maybe he's finally woken up and he has to be held accountable. But with Hurts either one, Gavin, there's not much help. There isn't. You're going to get this kid killed. He got drilled 3 times yesterday. Once he released the ball, boom, popped right into the chest. I'm like, holy crap, you don't have enough gear.
But that's why.
This team needs help, and you're throwing him to the dogs.
This is what I say. You talk about starting him, right? I say you sit Hurts. Because you know why? Put him in when it's needed. Let Carson Wentz take these hits. Damn it, he's already the most hit quarterback. Why? You know what? Just shut this operation down, damn it. Just shut it down. Shut it down. You get rid of Doug Peterson in the offseason. You get somebody with a better offensive mind. You get rid of Howie Roseman, all right, and you go out and you get yourself a better, smart-minded GM. You go out and you get yourself either Jamar Chase or Micah Parsons. Zach, I know
you either get Parsons and you trade for a receiver, or you get a receiver in the first round.
You get rid of Alshon Jeffrey. You sure as hell kick Jason Peters off the team. By the way, can we talk about Jason Peters as robbing money now?
Those are 3 bad contracts: Carson Wentz, Jason Peters, and Alshon Jeffrey. 3 bad contracts.
And then Zach too. You talk about so now that leads us to a problem. $60 million. $60 million.
I texted you yesterday on that first drive.
Exactly.
What did I say, Gavin?
You said we have a $60 million problem. And guess what, Zach? I can't say my reaction I said to you because we don't want to say that on this airway. But Zach, we got a $60 million problem. And the problem is that who's going to take him? Maybe Frank Wright, but does anyone want to deal with $60 million?
The Colts will take him in a heartbeat. They know they can win a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz.
But Zach,
the only reason that people think this team's good is because of the quarterback, Gavin. What else is there? What else do you look at going into the season that said, okay,
I look at the first thing I looked at besides the quarterback was the front seven. It was the defensive line
and the offensive line, and all of it's demolished this year. So I don't understand why everybody's surprised that we're playing bad. I mean, and you don't give your like other teams. Wayne Gallman got 20 touches yesterday, and they beat the Seahawks. Like, why is your running back – it's common courtesy if you have a franchise running back to give him 20 touches a game no matter what. McCaffrey, Jones. Where's Sanders? Let him do it. And Jordan Howard looked pretty good yesterday.
Let me add this to it. Did you know that Miles Sanders against the Baltimore Ravens had 9 carries for 118 yards? Did you know that Miles Sanders versus the Steelers had 80 yards? Did you know that Miles Sanders –
It's coaching.
But wait a minute. Did you know that when Miles Sanders goes against a relatively good elite defense – he runs. He does something. He did it versus the Bills last year. He did it versus the supposed to be good Steelers. Oh, great, ladies and gentlemen. He did it versus the Ravens. Zach, the proof is in the pudding or whatever you guys want to call it. Run the damn ball. But wait a minute, Zach. If you think about next year, right? Let's say Jalen Hurts is here next year. Carson Wentz is not. You get yourself all your offensive line comes back healthy and you guys all figured out. You get a new offensive mind coach. You can start running read options, reverses, stuff that made Cam Newton look really good, right? The stuff that makes Lamar Jackson won last year, right? You get yourself a great offensive line back. You figure out the problem on the left side, and then maybe Jason Kelsey, you convince him to come back for one more year. Even though I think I don't want to say he's done, but I think he's in that area wanting to be done. Football, you get yourself a new wide. You run with Travis Fulgham more. You get yourself another wide receiver.
Where is Fulgham?
He was out there for a little bit. He didn't catch anything yesterday. And Alshon Jeffrey, what the hell, man? Do you not want to play no more? You want to just sit there and watch basketball games and ride around Philadelphia? You want to go back to Chicago on every holiday? Do it then. Because I'm sick of this guy. Zach, I was excited when he got here, but now I never wanted someone to leave more than I ever wanted Robert Covington to leave, and I wanted Dougal Herrera to leave. Zach, he's getting to that point that I wanted him to go to. It's unacceptable. And Deshaun,
yeah, you're citing him as the guy who said he doesn't like Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz earned the respect of that locker room last season. I don't want to hear any of that. I'm glad that
exactly. I agree right there. Jeffrey's getting too many reps.
I'm glad that Jalen Hurts is getting he's working hard, and I believe when you work hard, especially when the guy in front of you is playing like shit, sorry to use that language, then you deserve an opportunity. Otherwise, what's the point of doing anything if no matter what happens, just shoot an MVP season, then you're not going to get the credit. However,
Jeffrey,
I'm going to do my final statement, and you'll do it. Then we're going to do NFL scores next. Let Hurts play next week. Let's see how that works out. Because from what I've seen, you can't get separation. You can't get your O-line to work. Maybe he'll run around for a little bit the way he extended plays yesterday. Other than that, good luck, kid. I hope he does well, because I never wish any harm on anybody. I know that there will be a market for Carson Wentz in the offseason if we decide to move on from him. I don't know right now. Next week, Gavin, I'll have
a first-round pick. You can get a high second-round pick, a late first-round or a good. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, my final remarks on the Eagles is this: next year looks promising if you get a new coach, get a new office, you get a new general manager, and you get a new defensive coordinator, and everybody comes healthy, and you start fresh. You start with, I don't know Carson Wentz. I don't know if anyone wants to see that. I think the city's done with Carson Wentz. I really do. He's a nice guy. I can't knock him for it. But like I said earlier in my statement, I believe that the majority didn't like Carson Wentz, and there was some that didn't care, and the didn't cares were the ones we like both. My last thing to you is, and going back to Alshon Jeffrey, he used to be arguably a top 5 wide receiver before he came here, right? He was big stuff in Chicago. He might have been top 10.
The only year they used him correctly was when Frank Reich was here. Get an offensive coordinator, get your O-line healthy, and then have the conversation next year about quarterback. It's still too soon to tell. Again, I hope Hurts starts next week. I just want to see what happens, because you got nothing to lose at this point. Other than that, Gavin, we're going to move on to NFL scores around the league, get some thoughts. A couple games rather shocking yesterday, including New England. Miami continues to pull through, and, of course, in Vegas. So stay tuned.
We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, it's that time of the week. A lot of sports going on every day except for Wednesday this week. We will be doing NFL coverage tonight, 2 games, tomorrow a game, Thursday a game, and then, of course, Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. The NBA is also starting to power up and come back. So we'll continue to cover all that and more. Stay tuned. A little bit of a quiet weekend in the golf world. One of the younger guys getting his second victory on tour. He's in his early 20s. Pretty impressive. So I wish I could play that well. It's cold here, so it's going to be tough. But congratulations out there. We'll continue to cover that. As well as the Women's U.S. Open is beginning soon as well. So we will also do the reviews there and get updates there. And, yes, fire that medical staff. It's horrible. But let's get to it, Gavin. Let's go through this week's games. A couple shockers, as I pointed out a few before the show. But let's start with one that really isn't that surprising. The Saints beating the Falcons 21-16. Gavin, any thoughts on that?
Taysom Hill looked really good at quarterback this week, throwing the ball, not running the ball, throwing the ball. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Falcons defense, all right, and the Falcons offense. But I'm a firm believer they should give that coach, the interim head coach, an opportunity at the head coaching spot.
And the next game, Jacksonville Jaguars, Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings keep their playoff hopes alive. They're technically in the playoffs right now. after beating Jacksonville in overtime.
Zach, Justin Jefferson's rookie of the year, damn it. I agree with Michael Thomas. Justin Herbert looked horrible yesterday. Tua doesn't have enough for me. And Joe Burrow's rookie season was ended. Just give it to Justin Jefferson just so Howie can like it. And you know what?
Absolutely heartbreaking for you as fans there for sure. But Browns-Titans, Gavin. Titans made the score look pretty at the end, but it was not a pretty game at all. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdown passes, 300-plus yards in the air. They looked great yesterday against a serious contender in the Tennessee Titans.
Well, there's one thing I look at the Tennessee defense is where has it been all this year? Donovan Peoples-Jones, yes, what a name. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he really came out yesterday and destroyed the Browns, and then you got the run game. But Zach, Baker Mayfield's play, let's pump the brakes on it because it's not going to be an everyday occurrence for Baker Mayfield to do something like that.
No, but I mean credit where credit's due this week. Baker Mayfield had a good week.
I have to. You're right. I have to, but it's not going to be an everyday thing.
The next game, I never thought I'd be happy about the Lions winning, except for when I bet against them this week. But the Detroit Lions, a great comeback against the Chicago Bears, a bad play call at the end of the game. It's no surprise for Matt Nagy. Trubisky, for the most part, had a good game, had a fumble at the end in the red zone. Of course, that's not acceptable at all for them. Stafford and the Lions able to step up first when Gavin, you called it after their coach got fired. They're not out of the playoffs yet. It's unlikely.
They're not winning the North, like you
They're not winning the North, but there's offense on that team.
Zach, we talked about the Bears' offense, and that's atrocious. But the defense is the one I look at yesterday. They blew it. Zach, the elite defense I was in the year shutting down people. And
you're up by 4 if you guys just run the ball, which you're running the ball well all day. Why would you drop back and pass?
I don't. We look at the same college.
Quarterback's not a problem. If anything, they look better with Trubisky than Foles right now. They look less stale. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot more issues on the quarterback in Chicago, similar to.
You gotta get rid of Matt Nagy. You have to.
And get another line for real there. The next game, Bengals-Dolphins. It was a slow start for the Dolphins, but their defense did great. Gave up a touchdown the first drive, not anything after that. Tua was told to drop back and throw a lot yesterday, and he did it well.
It's like Tua's going to be a star in this league. All right, we know it. Brian Flores, Coach of the Year. All right, there's a guy in Pittsburgh, but I like Brian Flores' chances. It's the defense for me, Zach, that sells it. The defense there. Xavier Howard, even though he got ejected after getting his interception, but the defense held his own. They gave up a few touchdowns here and there, but that defense is legit, Zach, and it's going to be a problem for years to come.
Not only legit defense, their offense is not the most talented, but they're putting it together. No matter who the quarterback is. And Gavin, they have the same record as the Titans and the Colts. Just thought that was a fun fact to put after. That's how good they are. They are 8-4. So absolutely crazy going on in Miami. The next game, speaking of the Colts, they topped the Texans in a close one the entire time. The Texans aren't as bad as their record, but they have some work to do in the offseason.
I love Roman Cannell. I love what he's done. He's putting his team in chances to win. It's unfortunate what happened to Will Fuller, but Deshaun Watson showing you why he's worth the money. I like it. They need to give him an offensive line and some help. And
an offensive coordinator if you're going to go with Romeo as the head coach for defensive mind. Another game which absolute heartbreaker in my eyes. I never thought I'd be cheering for the Jets as much as I've hated them this year. But I hate the Raiders even more because they're just fool's gold every single year.
Is there a reason why you hate the Raiders, especially yesterday?
Well, there's no specific reason I hate the Raiders. It's just when I look at that team, and maybe it's because of last week Derek Carr played terrible for me, 0.6 points in fantasy. I mentioned this week he scored 30+. That might be why. I don't understand that they built really well. They got rid of Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. They turned that into Josh Jacobs and Max Crosby, right? That's a pretty good win-win.
Darren Waller as well, yeah.
If you have a team that built so well, and John Gruden's a good offensive-minded coach, and by the way, Mariota was the backup yesterday. It was not Peterman, so I thought they were getting ready to make that quarterback change if necessary. That team seems like they are good, and they compete with the Chiefs, and then they do what they did against Atlanta, and they do what they did yesterday, even though they won against New York. I mean, that's why I don't like the Raiders. I don't understand how you can be like that.
Well, what Zach also misses that he owes me wings from PJ's the next time we go. That's besides the point.
That was my upset of the week. Very close, but unfortunately not.
But the next game, listen, you called an all-out blitz on the last play when you need to be in coverage, and Henry Ruggs showed you why. He's, I don't want to say the best wide receiver, but he's a good one.
And the next game here, the New York Giants over the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. I don't think this. I'll try to look back at the last video. I don't remember what my lock of the week was. I think it was the Chiefs over the Broncos. But looking at it last week, this looked like a pretty comfortable lock as well. What on earth happened?
They ran the ball down the throats, Zach. That's what happened. And the Giants didn't turn over the ball as much. They had one bad interception at the beginning of the game, and Russell Wilson didn't really put much points out to begin with. And the Giants' offense starting to come together. Imagine Saquon Barkley was there. That's all I have to say.
Yes, and they're quite banged up as well. The next game, the Rams and the Cardinals. Not a shocker here. They keep the Cardinals in the game for a while, but a pick six seals the deal for them. The offense continues to do really well, Gavin. And the Cardinals are 6-6. They were 6-3 just a few weeks ago.
They should have actually, Zach. If you want to get technical, they really should be 6-7, however, or 5-7.
5-7 with the
5-7. They should be 5-7, Zach. At that heave to DeAndre Hopkins, Hail Mary, as you like to call it.
Honestly, if the Seahawks close out that game, they could be 4-8 right now. So
are we being hoodwinked right now? Is that what we're seeing from the Cardinals? False advertised?
I have no idea. Can they turn it around? We'll find out. I've liked what they've done so far, but it has, unfortunately, past 2 weeks has not been good for them. The next game, the biggest shocker on most people's list. I mean, I would believe it, but not in this extreme way. 45-0. Patriots over Chargers. They're 6-6. There's not a single, maybe one Pro Bowler on that team, maybe two Pro Bowlers if you count J.C. Jackson and maybe one of the twins because Stephon Gilmore's not played enough this year. Tom Brady is 7-5 with one of the most talented rosters in the league, Gavin. Who really was the one that headed up that dynasty?
It's Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick. Zach, Cam Newton has just as many rushing touchdowns as Kyler Murray does. People don't know that. It's not getting it done through the air. It's getting it done on the ground. Cam's going to do it myself. But Zach, I look at yesterday's win from a Chargers perspective, and I just look at Anthony and I go, damn, there goes your job. Just like that. Justin Herbert had nothing notable whatsoever. That's actually, Zach, the worst loss Justin Herbert had all year.
Every other game they've been in, that was just god-awful. Bill Belichick decided he's not going to tank this year, I guess. Remember, he had 3 games with a backup quarterback. When Cam's in, they win for the most part. If they don't fumble, first of all, they're going to beat Buffalo next time they play them. I'll say that right now, and I'll predict it when we get there. They should have tied, or at least they should have tied one to overtime at least, or possibly won against Buffalo. Again, Cam unfortunately had that fumble. You get stopped at the goal line against Seattle. This seems very close to being 8-4. So they don't need Tom Brady there to win a Super Bowl, maybe. But
does Cam come back next year? That's the question we got to ask.
We'll see how this season plays out, honestly, because he's not the reason they're winning games, but he's part of the success. And when he's in, they're either close or they win. So the next game, of course, Eagles-Packers. Not much going on there. We'll cover that in more detail as the week goes, and we continue to get more reports of what's going on with this team. Broncos-Chiefs. Broncos held around for a while.
They were batting balls down, Zach. It was like return delivery, all right? That's what it looked like in the first half. But how about the catch from Tyreek Hill that wasn't called a touchdown? He actually called it.
He had no idea either. Nobody knew.
And Andy Reid looked a little bit pissed off because he looked at Tyreek. He's like, "You called it?" He gave him the look. Like, we could have reviewed it, but nothing much from the Chiefs. They're gonna be in the first seed by the end of the season.
Yeah, last time I checked, the Steelers decimated the Broncos, but whatever. Here's the bottom line for that team.
I don't know.
You have a good defense, not a great defense, but under Vic Fangio, you developed a very respectable defense in Denver. You get your quarterback, Noah Fant. You get your quarterback, that kid Patrick, who's been developed nicely. Of course, Courtland Sutton when he's healthy. And then you get KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy. As a quarterback, you can't afford to play poorly when you have that level of talent around you. Drew Lock, I mean, as much as what I said earlier in the year, I thought he'd have a good year like he did last year, but maybe the injuries are getting the best of him. I don't know what the move is in Denver, but it's not looking good for John Elway when it comes to the quarterback position.
No, it's not. And Zach, your dark horse MVP does not look that good, and you got to regroup. You have to regroup.
They're going to have to. We'll see how that plays out. Coming up after this, predictions for tonight's games. That's right, Monday games. It's been a crazy year. Any avid sports fan or soon to become an avid sports fan will be amazed when we tell them the stories of Tuesday and Wednesday games. And we're going to have a Friday game as well on Christmas. So every day of the week we'll have NFL games this year. Predicting tonight's games. Stay tuned.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
And as the holidays come on, I know we've been a little bit low-key on this as far as discussing, but Gavin and I are currently talking right now to figure out the organization we're donating to. We'll make sure to get updates as the year of a whole. We do have some of those gathered from all the way back in June, so stay tuned. Again, links are in the bio on any video that you watch. I think it might not be on today's, but I'm going to add that later, so stay tuned. If you want any other ways to support us, let us know. We'll be happy to do that as we move into the new year. Other than that, Gavin, I'll do it for you. Gavin thinks the Washington football team is going to beat the Steelers tonight. All right, we can end the show now. Just kidding. But Gavin, in all seriousness, the floor is yours. Who are you taking in this matchup in Pittsburgh?
Well, Zach, I'm rolling with that front seven in Washington. Listen, Zach, and I was talking with the Giants fan and Ryan, our good friend Ryan, and listen, Chase Young and the rest of them boys, Big Ben has not been sacked in the last, 190-something pass attempts? He has not been hit. Zach, what is the formula of always Big Ben? If he doesn't get rushed, he can stand there all day. Well, guess what, Zach? This front seven is we saw it. They get to the quarterback. They get to everybody. And this defense is a little bit underrated. They go under the radar. But it's this offense for me, Zach. We saw how much points the Steelers gave to the Ravens on a third-string quarterback and Trace McSorley. And they just lost Bud Dupree, too. I honestly think that you could do whatever you want, Zach. I know you're going to disagree with me, but
I mean, it was late in the game, and it was just a good catch and run.
But Zach, at the same time, too, they've been giving up points to every team, which every team does. But
Bad but don't break. They haven't lost the game.
Is it in Washington or is it in Pittsburgh?
It's in Pittsburgh.
I'm going to be surprised if Washington goes into Pittsburgh and stuns the Steelers. I'm going 28-31.
I don't know where Washington gets 31 points. Washington will not score any more than 20. If they keep the Steelers under that, obviously they win. It's going to be a defensive game.
There's no James Conner
tonight. A game-winning field goal, 23-20 Steelers. It's going to be close. You're right. I do see it being close and arguably an upset. And if they lose that game, I don't know what the current record looks like because that's an NFC game. They would still be the 1 seed because currently they would be the 1 seed because if they lose tonight, they would still be 11-0 in or whatever record in the AFC. The Chiefs would have a loss in the AFC with the Raiders. So the Steelers still are the 1 seed no matter what happens tonight, but I have them winning by a field goal.
I have them Steelers losing. Luck, Zach, you can get lucky as much as you want, but you always talk about one possession games to me when I bring up the Packers. So these are,
and this is one of the years where they're going to ride on it.
Yeah. So guess what, Zach? It ends today. All
right, we'll have to see. Then finally tonight, the actual Monday night game in Arizona. Weird to say. The San Francisco 49ers host the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo probably has some PTSD being in that stadium. But, Gavin, who are you taking tonight?
The 49ers looked good last week. The defense looked well. Nick Mullins played all right. I'm rolling with Josh Allen tonight. I just can't roll with the 49ers offensively, especially with their quarterback. You look good sometimes, but, Zach, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen are arguably one of the best doers in the league. Not right now, but arguably one of the best. And, of course, the run game and Zach Moss in the red zone, he's really came along this year. No one talks about that. And no one talks about the secondary of the Bills. So it's time to get the recognition they deserve.
Tre'Davious White, Josh Norman, pretty good in the secondary as well. But I am going to go with San Fran tonight for the exact reason that you said they're not. The quarterback. That team finds a way to make their quarterback a non-factor in most games. The run game is getting healthy. Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, they're back. You have a couple other nice kids back there that are going to be used tonight. Buffalo's been soft against the run last year. They've been soft against the run this year. It's technically home for them. It doesn't make a difference, but timing-wise, Buffalo's got to go to the West Coast. It is another hour up, actually, because Arizona doesn't change their clock. So I'm going to go San Fran. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be a good offensive game. I think San Fran will turn some heads.
Zach, the Bills are going to make it a no-fly zone tonight.
We'll see how that plays out. That's definitely been something that they've been able to do successfully in a lot of games, but they get them a lot of offense too, Gavin. The Bills are not a lockdown defense at all.
It's going to be a shootout for sure.
Stephon Diggs, good wide receiver, going up against Richard Sherman most likely tonight, and I forget the other guy's name who's been playing really well as well. And then in addition to that, you do have Deebo Samuel healthy. You do have Brandon Ayuk healthy. You have a pretty healthy team going right there in San Fran right now. So we are going to shift gears now. Gavin has pointed out to me, as planned, we have to talk about it. However, first, we do have a little bit of breaking news regarding Darius Slay, so stay tuned. Some breaking news coming in from John Clark at NBC. It is not expected to be a serious knee injury for Darius Slay. We don't know if that could be a sprain, but most likely not a torn ligament or anything of that degree. We don't know if he'll miss any games or not. We'll continue to supply updates. Again, Darius Slay, most likely not a significant injury faced to him after suffering a knee injury yesterday going against Devontae Adams one-on-one. I don't know why you don't bracket like every other team does, but whatever, Jim Schwartz. But Gavin, let's get to it in our final segment today. A lot going on with the Philadelphia Phillies. A report came out from, I don't know where, but from apparently a trusted source that the Phillies were looking to shop Zach Wheeler in this offseason, your most productive pitcher last year, as well as your highest paid pitcher. However, John Middleton shuts it down, quote, "I wouldn't trade him for Babe Ruth." Gavin, what's going on here?
What's going on here is we're watching two horrible front offices in the Eagles and Phillies. And here's why. I need this right across the street from each other, practice idiocy. Zach, because of financial troubles, you are going to try to shop Zach Wheeler. Here's an idea, genius. You let your best friend, Matt Klentak, who's been in office for way too long, run JT Realmuto out of Philadelphia. Because, Zach, I honestly think if you don't take him to court, you could have brought him back on a 5-year deal, $100 million. That's plain and simple, just like that. Or you could have did something totally different. But no, you want to take him to court over, I don't even know what the dispute was. It doesn't even matter. So now you're not going to get him back, which it could be a positive because you can bring in somebody else. But, you know.
He might be going to the Mets, though, so.
But, and by the way, the Mets might get Trevor Bauer, too. Trevor Bauer is like in Queens. Everybody.
The Mets want to win. Why aren't the Phillies?
But because you know why the Phillies don't want to win? Because they got losers mentality. We talked about losers mentality in Detroit with the Lions and about they got a losing culture. Well, you have a GM that's a loser that sits in the back and talks about Sixto Sanchez. You have John Middleton who can't get rid of the past and can't get rid of friends. You got a poor, I mean this in the most disrespectful way I can say this, a horrible and the world's worst bullpen I've ever seen in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, and if I could, the bullpen is so bad. Me of all people, and those who know me know where I'm getting at. Me could do a better job than what the bullpen was doing. And Zach, you know me, I don't got the best of stuff. My fastball is under 50 miles per hour probably. But guess what? It's better than what the hell they were throwing because they were throwing home runs and long balls and everything. You had 10 points versus one team, and you give up 9, and then ultimately you go back to lose. Wait a minute. And then, Zach, let's talk about the Braves real quick. What did they do? They go and get Charlie Morton, and Mike Soroka comes back, and whoever the guy they had this year, the rookie who went lights out. Oh, and by the way, I'm pretty sure they're getting some other people back too. And then Acuna and then Freddie Freeman and the boys are going to be there. All right, let's go to Queens. The Queens might go get the Mets might get what? Trevor Bauer and JT Realmuto. You still got Pete Alonso. You got JD Davis. And they got a nice bullpen. Oh, by the way, they still got Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard. Oh, hold on, Zach. It gets better. Let's go to Washington because we talked about how bad Washington was last year. They didn't have Strasburg, and the three-headed monsters didn't look that good, and the offense was decimated. But they're going to get Scherzer back. They're going to get a healthy Strasburg. They're going to have Patrick Corbin. And then you look at the pathetic Phillies and who we had to show for it. Aaron Nola and Bryce Harper. And Aaron, I'm not Nola by any way. I'm not saying Aaron Nola is horrible. But Zach, everybody in division is ready to go except for
everyone.
Got a damn thing to show for it. Zach, do you know that free agency has been going on for like the past month now? And the best thing Phillies had to show for it is losing JT Realmuto most likely. I mean, come on. Corey Knebel, or however you want to say his name, just went to the Dodgers. You didn't think about trading for him? And you're talking about, we got Mickey Moniak and Adam Hazley and these guys. Oh, shut up. These guys suck, and they're not going to be good. And if they're listening to this, don't take it personal. I'm just a Phillies fan that's seen the worst of the worst, and it's not getting better. Zach, what they need to do is the Eagles and the Phillies need to go sit down with the Sixers and the Flyers front office and the Unions front office, or maybe just the Flyers and the Sixers, and ask them, how the hell did you guys win? Because neither one of these front offices know about winning. Jerry Krause said it best. Front offices also win championships as well. Well, Zach, These two idiots in the Philadelphia organization does not know what winning looks like. You couldn't share a dub with them if you slap them across the face and said, "This is what a W looks like," and they're going to still ask you, "What is this?" Because that's how bad Zach. They need an EpiPen for winning because they're allergic to it. They need to do Zach. What's that test you do when you get like needles in your back or something where they try to get
for allergies? I don't know what it's called.
It's for allergies, right? It's
you definitely
when I was young for apples.
These organizations.
I had to do it for apples. I was allergic to apples when I was younger, ladies and gentlemen. That it hurt. But guess what? I started eating apples more because you know what? I want to eat apples. I want to eat apple pie. I want to eat applesauce. But Zach, guess what? These guys don't want to win. They don't want to do anything with winning. They're okay with losing. They're okay with being losers. Zach, I swear, if you're allowed to go into the stadium this year, I wouldn't go. If you was like, we want you to throw a first pitch, I'm gonna throw it at you, John Middleton, for you, and this happened. I'm gonna throw it at you, Matt Klentak, because you're still in Philadelphia. They won't tell you that you're still running things. They don't want us to be upset. And Zach, the last thing I would do, I would throw a baseball at the bullpen. And I hope it hits someone in the face. I don't know who is going to hit in the face. I hope it hits somebody in the face. And the last, but saying that, I'll give Joe Girardi a hug because you know what? I feel bad for Joe because when he took this job, he did not think they were going to be that bad. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think the Eagles really piss me off, or as much as it pisses Zach off, the Phillies make me way more irritated. Way more. Go, Zach.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Do they want to win games or not? Got to figure it out. This is unacceptable product that we've seen. We got 4 months until we start seeing spring training and start hearing speculation of what this team can do this year. They were going up when they signed Bryce Harper, and Reese Hoskins was coming up, and Gabe Kapler, and everything goes downhill from there. You bring in Joe Girardi. You lose to Miami. You actually start looking like a good baseball team for the year, and you barely miss out. You choke at the end as you usually do, and then you lose the best catcher in baseball. So not much to say there. That's how you make a losing football. That's how you make a losing baseball team.
Zach, you talk about story franchises. You talk about the Yankees. You think about the Dodgers. You think about all these story franchises. And what is the one thing that the Yankees always have that the Phillies don't have? They always have a face. They always have a game plan. They always win games. When there was no Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton.
They were winning games this year.
Exactly. And hold on. And DJ LeMahieu and Didi Gregorius took them into the playoffs, and ultimately the Bronx Bombers came back, and we know how that ended. Zach, then you go to this year. Even though they didn't get the first place in the division because Tampa did it, but Zach, they were winning games. These guys can't win games regardless of who's here. I don't give a damn if Harper's here. I don't give a damn if Reese Hoskins here. They can't win. They can't win. You can't beat Boston. You sure as hell can't beat Miami, which, oh, by the way, Zach, Miami might be a top destination spot for those who may or may not know. They're going to be on the upcoming. They're going to be on the uprising. Zach, in a year where there was a shortened season and teams that only win like 30 to 40 games, that's all they had to win this year, they made it to the playoffs. Look at it. You look at teams like the Blue Jays, the Marlins went to the playoffs. Zach, the games they won this year was enough to get them in. Zach, we win just the same amount of games, but guess what? We lost majority this year. How do you do that? How? Oh, I'll tell you how. Because you got a loser in Matt Klentak and another loser in John Middleton who reflect on the past. Guess what, idiots? The past is not the present, and the future sure as hell don't look good. Enough said right there. I can't with these guys. I really can't.
We're going to the winter where football is wrapping up, basketball is kicking off as well as hockey into the new year, and then pitchers and catchers report in February. I don't know what's going to look like. Nobody does. This team has dropped the baton a few times now. Financial troubles are worrisome. That's why you're missing out on the best catcher in baseball. All we can do is sit here and watch it unfold and analyze it, and we'll go from there. Can they win games this year? I don't know. Do they have enough talent to? Sure. I like McCutchen. I like the outfit. I like Roman Quinn when he's healthy. Didi, Gene, who might be on the move, we don't know. Moniak possibly sitting at third. And then you have Reese Hoskins, who needs to have a good year. The pitching staff needs to be improved, and now you're losing out on a good catcher. So there's not much new to tell until we can actually watch this team and see how this product actually performs. But it's not looking good.
Zach, I refuse. I refuse to watch a Phillies game this year. I don't give a damn. I normally go to the Phillies game every year to celebrate my birthday. All right. I didn't go this year, obviously, due to the virus reasons and everything else. But Zach, I don't want to go there. No. I do not want to go anywhere near Citizens Bank. not park such big bums, because that's what they are up in there.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Other than that, everybody, we'll continue to break it down. I hope to get more Sixers news throughout the week. Tomorrow, recapping the football games from tonight. As much more as we can learn about the Hurts-Wentz situation, we'll continue to cover. We'll get some opinions and more. Possibly get some guests on this week. Stay tuned. Might be doing some different hours to make that work. Other than that, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show on this fine Monday. Have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody. The Phillies suck.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos. Again, thanks for watching.